Praggnanandhaa wins yet another game, and this time in Carlsenesque style. That's the title of this video. You might be wondering, what does it mean? Did Praggnanandhaa play like Carlsen? Well, not really the chess part I'm talking about, but more than that, what I want to say is that when Carlsen plays chess, he's looking at the chess element, sure, but he also looks at the psychological part of chess. You will see that a lot in his games, that he has figured out the players so well that he goes into positions, chooses openings which are the most uncomfortable for his opponents. And that's the reason why he succeeds so very often. Now, what did Praggnanandhaa do that was similar? So, in this round, he was playing against his good friend, or you can say he calls him Anna, or the brother, elder brother of his, Karthikeyan Murali, because they both go to the same chess academy, which is Chess Gurukul by R.B. Ramesh in Chennai, and they both work on chess together. So in a way, they know each other's style quite well. Now Praggnanandhaa was leading the tournament, and he was with the white pieces, and he opened the game with one knight to f3. You will remember Karthikeyan from this position. I hope that you all have seen this position. This was Karthikeyan with the black pieces against Alireza Firuza, and here he played a stunning move. The last move was knight to b3, and Karthikeyan shocked the chess world with queen into c3. If you guys haven't seen it already, then here's the video, and also I have interviewed Karthikeyan after this game, so you get to know about his style much more. This is what happened, and once you see a game like this, you know that Karthikeyan is aggressive. He likes to attack, and so Pragg begins with knight f3, and he just castles, building this house, nice little house he has built, and he plays d4. And now this move rook to e1, which is kind of positional and takes the game away from King's Indian territory and wants to take it into Pirc. With e4, he wants to take the game into Pirc territory. c5 was played by Karthikeyan, and here before Karthikeyan could sacrifice his queen or do something like that, Pragg is all ready to exchange the queens here. He didn't do it immediately. He first played c3, and already you can see the battle lines have been drawn slightly. White could play e4 here, and this c3 pawn controls d4 square. This square is slightly weak, but all in all, I feel that black has equalized out of the opening. Karthikeyan goes active now, queen b6, queen to a4, knight c6, knight a3, a6, and now queen to knight to c4. Well, in this position, Pragg could have also switched his queen to h4. This is a very typical idea, and then you want to try to attack a bit with bishop h6 and knight g5. But I think Praggnanandhaa's aim was clear in this game. I want to keep it as simple as possible. So Karthikeyan was sort of forced to exchange the queens here. A move like queen c7 won't be any good because of bishop f4. So queen exchange here, takes knight to b6, rook a6, knight c8, and rook c8. So we reach this position, and there is a very clear imbalance here. White has two bishops which are very strong. It's a very potent advantage, but black is extremely active. You can see everything is developed. b4 is coming, this bishop is going to get active. So I would say the position is dynamically balanced. a3 was played by Pragg, and Karthikeyan immediately moved forward with b4, takes, and now rook to b1. Black is pretty equal here, but there are small problems. For example, if you take on a3, I take back, and suddenly my rook is attacking this pawn. So intuitively, even if this position is good, Karthikeyan would reject such a little bit passive. Now he has to defend this pawn. So he went actively, he went knight e4. Now Pragg tried to exchange, knight to g5, knight d6, and here he took on b4. Black could have here played rook b6 first. Of course, you would like to take this, and it's possible because the d6 knight defends the pawn on b7, but Karthikeyan said, well, I want to take with the rook. So a nice move here by white was b3. The point being that once the rook takes, now I can push you back with bishop d2. While if the pawn was on b2, and let's say I make a waiting move, say h3, and you take here, now I can't play bishop d2 because b2 is hanging. So Pragg just improves his position a bit with b3, bishop c3. Here knight into b4 I think would have been completely fine, bishop e3, rook b5, and this position looks completely okay for black. Bishop c3, rook d1, and now knight d4, and here you can already start understanding that Karthikeyan is not very comfortable in playing simple positions. Now he could have just taken on b4 here with his bishop and said, okay, this is even, maybe white has a very small edge, but I will be able to defend this. But he wants to go active. He attacks the pawn on e2. Pragg just defends it, rook a8, and now comes rook to d3. I guess bishop f4 was also a strong move, but now white is gaining edge because b4 pawn is no longer hanging, this knight is attacked. So here rook a1, you take and play bd2, and white has completed his development. He's a pawn up and he has the bishop pair, so all in all white is now clearly better. You can see without doing much, Pragg got a better position against a 2600 plus player. This is psychology in chess. Now knight to c2, knight e4. Here it was possible to take on b4, attack the rook on d3, so you take back, rook takes, and now knight d6 takes, rook d6. And I think here black has good chances for draw, but let's say you take on b3, I go bishop d5, and here you realize that although white, the material is even, white has this powerful bishop. He could play e4 if he wants to cement that bishop, rook d7 next. If f7 falls, then this 4 versus 3 is going, 4 versus 2 because f7 falls, would be much dangerous for black than this outside passer here on b7. That's also an important pawn, but on its own it can't do much. So that's the reason why Karthikeyan once again didn't go for this. He went for bishop to e5, but Pragg went rook d5, bishop b2. Well, a move like f6 doesn't work because knight c5, I have threats like now knight a4, knight d7. So bishop b2, knight d6, e d6, bishop f4, bishop takes, and here white is a clear pawn up. Knight b4, rook goes to e7, knight c6, and you can't take on b3 just yet because after bishop d5, check, king g2, knight e5, I have rook e7, f7 will fall. So you will see how with small tactics in the position, Pragg is keeping up the pressure, and once the bishop comes to d5, white is a clear pawn up. Bishop c4, it's very important to see how now Praggnanandhaa converts this, because you are often pawn up, but you are unable to convert such a position. No such problem with Pragg now. Rook a5, rook b5, you can exchange the rooks, but this is a winning endgame. So king c7, and now suddenly Praggnanandhaa changes his mind. He could have taken here, takes e3, and we reach this position. I think white is completely winning after bishop g8 because he's going to round up a pawn at least over here, and his king can move in. And when there is play happening on both sides, a bishop is very powerful. So king c7, rook c5, check, f4, and now the pawns start rolling. e4, knight to d4, and this is Karthikeyan's way of saying, I need activity, I can't just sit. But it's like suicide, because now white simply collects all the kingside pawns. 4 pawns is just too much. Praggnanandhaa got his rook back here, defends it, and now these 4 pawns are going to win the game. So that's how I would say, that's why I would say Pragg played like Carlsen here. It was not just about the game. Yes, he didn't do much. He was trying to keep control just like what Carlsen does many times, but he used a lot of psychology here and tried to take Karthikeyan out of his comfort zone. Really, for a 13-year-old, this is very high class understanding of chess. I would like to show you what Praggnanandhaa's performance looks like. Right now he's on 8 out of 9, dominating the Xtracon Open. He has plus 27 ELO points, that takes him to 2567, a rating performance of 2711, and now he's beaten 3 2600 plus players, which is Anton Korobov, Daniel Vocaturo and Karthikeyan. He's going to play against Sam Sevian. This is the standings now. Praggnanandhaa is right there at the top with 8 points, but if you look at it, his tie break is lower, first tie break is lower than Aryan Tari and Gabriel Sargsyan. So if these guys win their game and Pragg draws, then he might not win the title. So nothing is clear as such yet in this tournament, but Praggnanandhaa is playing in the last round against Sam Sevian, and the game has just begun right now. So I planned this in a way where you would get an idea of Pragg's win in the penultimate round and also what is happening in the last round. So Pragg with the white pieces, with the black pieces, the game went e4 and Pragg went c6. So you know he wants to keep the draw in hand, play solidly, d4, d5, knight d2 was played, and after take he went for knight f6, which is the move which is quite popular these days. Very solid. Black takes a slight disadvantage in structure, but at the same time gets quick development here. You can see bishops are open. ef6, and now after c3, bishop d6, bishop d3, castles, queen c2, rook e8, knight e2, comes h5. I remember Vidit explaining this in his video, which I will, once again you can check it up here. I am going to put up a link where you can check Vidit's video. h5, bishop e3, knight goes to d7, knight g3, and we have this position maybe h4, but then knight f5 is coming. Well, it's quite possible that Pragg has done something pretty wrong in the opening here. It's possible, because if you look at this position after knight g3, the h5 pawn is hanging, but I'm not very sure if this is really, for example, if black plays here say h4 in this position, then after knight to f5, if you go in, then black can just play knight b6, and well, he can give up this pawn with threats of knight d5 here, and also so it's not so clear, and it could be possible that Pragg has all of this prepared. The game is going on right now, just begun, so I would ask you to follow it on Xtracon's website or live.chessbase.com or any other website. But let's see if Pragg can win one of the biggest tournaments of his chess career. This is Sagar Shah. Thank you so much.